If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
All right, everybody. It is time for what you've been waiting for. The beginning of the season means the beginning of unboxing season. So today I have brought a game from the sadly now deceased Tasty Minstrel Games. This is a game called Yokohama, and I actually kickstarted the deluxeified version long ago, but never really got a chance to get it to the table. But lately it's been on Board Game Arena, and I've rediscovered it, and it is amazing. So we're going to go through what makes... You're here just in time to see what the deluxe components of Yokohama. I don't know. It depends. Are you still muted or are you unmuted?
In true fashion, I was muted.
Well, I'm glad we rehearsed this pattern then, because it always works out.
Always works out. Fantastic. Okay, so as much as we would love to do an unboxing video, and in fact, one day we really should.
I feel like at this point we should at some point, but I don't know. It might ruin the shit. Yeah.
It would be fantastic. You do this on purpose. Do you know what, Lisa? I wish I did, and that would make me a comic genius. This is just sad ineptitude, or being a bit rusty. I don't know. Let's leave that to the audience.
It has been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. Let's make that my excuse. Yeah, we'll definitely make that one. So Al, I think we were going to kind of look around, and let me just slide in the draft. We were going to just look around at what had happened previously on season 10, and just to take a quick look at these teams before we kind of dove into the round one. So how did talk to me about the draft. How did it pan out? Did it, any surprises come up? Did people jink left when they could have jinked right? Was Serafina a surprise first pick? What were your thoughts?
I mean, Serafina was a surprise first round pick, or even just first overall pick. With that said, with their numbers from her rookie season, it's not like a complete stretch. We've had some much stretchier overall first round picks anyway. It wasn't the worst thing. It was just a surprise, and we'll see if that pans out or if she hits a sophomore slump. But that was a surprise. I think the overall theme of the draft, though, was just how talented this league has become. There's so many great players, and even looking at players who maybe started off lower in the draft and have sort of pushed their value higher just from, I think, playing in the league and getting better as they went along. You look at a player like Jace Ascended, who, he was traditionally in the lower half of the draft, but now has made it up to the second round.
And if I remember rightly, he was another player who had a really good season 9.
Right.
I think Jace's numbers were actually really, really good. Almost close to Serafina actually in performance, I think. But yeah, definitely one that's come up. And then you see players, like Starmark going in round 5. Starmark's a good player. You see him in the ladder frequently, always tough to beat, and he's sitting in round 5, and it's like, well, if it's that deep, it's crazy.
Yeah. I think there are really good players in every round. So it was difficult to make a bad pick, I think. and sometimes it just comes down to, at least with the captain, who do you want on your team? Who do you get along with? Who have you played with before? Who do you want to play with? Who do you want to get to know? Um, so it was interesting. It was one of the ones I thought was interesting, and I'm not going to complain about it because he ended up on my team. Was Baggio is still in the last round, and I think that comes more from tradition than anything else because he's had some just really good seasons this past couple seasons.
Yeah, I was going to actually suggest that it's time I made a formal apology to Baggio 10 because I feel like I'm part of the reason he goes in the last round. And I think, not to spoil anything, but I think this season we might see, if he goes on as he's begun, we might see an absolute heater from him because he is way better than that bottom pick that we've, traditionally put him in.
And I mean, that's how you win a championship is by finding a player who will outperform their draft pick. And
Absolutely.
that's very difficult because especially with the way this game plays, that can be real tough to predict.
Yes, very much. And, sometimes you just have a bad or a good season and it throws all those valuations out the window.
Totally.
So I think what we'll do now is head on over to the traditional round start. So we're gonna be a bit light on tea this week, Al. I do apologise, but if you want to just drop the srdbtatler@gmail.com in the stream chat, that's just a timely reminder to everyone that's if you've got any interesting tea, some things that happen in your team chat, maybe people arguing about carburetors versus waste disposal, and who's wrong, always poop deck. This is a great place to send it. We'll collate that and we'll bring it out anonymously, or maybe not always, depending on how funny it is, to the wider masses so they can enjoy it. So actually, first thing to talk about really, Al, is the new name for this season. I know what you did last round. Squarely placing ourselves in that thematic option. As much as I love Thunderballs Our Go, I think we are just going to keep changing that theme up. And what better way to do it than a man with a fisherman's hat and a hook?
That's right, the Gorton fisherman.
Absolutely.
Out for blood.
Out for blood indeed. So typically we look at the standings as we go into the round. It's fairly dull this round because there are none and they're just in draft order. So that's going to change by the time we get to the end of the round.
But before we move into the round, I want to know which of the because I think they're all great, but which of the logos is your favorite?
Which of the logos is my favorite? See, this is a tough one because there's... I'm going to bring up the spreadsheet to look at it. The one that jumped out immediately was the Bulls Have Eyes.
Yeah.
Because Bulls with googly eyes is funny. I do quite like a man in gold spandex shorts, though. And that was a really nice kind of melding of Dodgeball and Rocky Horror. And also the Blobbadook is just outstanding. And Cranky always does such a good job with all of these, but I do appreciate the Let Me Win as well, which October's got in their badge. It's just a great one. But like Freddie holding the ball is a really nice one. The catch assist with the ball in the hand, they're all really good. But yeah, I think for me those three were the ones that really jumped out. What about you, Al? Which ones were?
It's definitely a toss-up between the Balls Have Eyes and the Blobbadook.
Yeah.
As far as just straight up just on their own as a logo, great. With that said, like one of my personal favorite horror films is Midsummer. So the
Okay, yeah.
Mythromer is pretty and the way it got integrated into Dodgeball, I think that was the most innovative of the logos.
Nice, yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's really good. I can't remember off the top of my head which colours of teams still have a hoodoo of not winning the league yet. So I'll have to look that up for next time because I was going to do that
Yeah.
before the draft, but I didn't want to. I
Didn't want to jinx anybody.
Yeah, I didn't want to jinx anybody.
We'll wait till the season starts for that.
Now that they've picked, it's too late. So, so T, disappointing. Al, I know this is where we would usually go over lots of T. In the past, we've had some great on-running kind of themes like Wanglish. One thing I think I would encourage the audience this season to do is in our team chat, a girl who dodgeballs alone at night, or Agdan, I think is the acronym. So I'm often going to be slipping into calling us Agdan. I apologize, but anyway, in Agdan chat, we have the beginnings of a nice kind of lexicon, maybe a cross between the Pranosaurus and Dodgeball even. So if I were to tell you, Al, what would you say a premature reclamation was? What would your guess be?
A premature reclamation?
Yeah.
In relation to Star Realms, or just like my life in general?
Well, I mean, it is in relation to Dodgeball, but I mean, you can play with that if you want.
Okay. Then I would guess then a premature reclamation is scrapping your reclamation station too early and not having enough damage to finish the game.
That is exactly right, and that is exactly what Poop Deck managed to do in one game against Chasmo, I believe. And I think it was in fact Chasmo who came straight in there with the moniker. Like, I'm not even sure he hesitated. It was just like, and done. So yeah, I would encourage any other players out there to just, as you're playing your practice games during a match, just think about any of those other borderline smutty terms that we could incorporate into a Dodgeball kind of lexicon of smut. I think that would have great value. So if any of you want to send any of those to srdbtatler@gmail.com, please do. So yeah, we'll obviously the tea will crank out as we go through the show. As Al always says, it doesn't even have to be true.
Yeah. If not, we'll just make stuff up.
Yep, make it up.
And I mean, I'll even share something from my team chat. So our team is based, of course, on the cult classic Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yep.
And turns out 2 of the players that were drafted on the team had never seen the film before.
What on earth? I hope they have been sorely educated on that.
So one of them has watched it now. Apparently watched it the evening of the draft after they were drafted.
Excellent.
And has now taken to referring, like, whenever they are praying for a good result or anything, they just invoke the name Tim Curry.
I mean, it is a great name to invoke. So many good things about that man.
So
Cranky,
we don't pray to RN Jesus anymore. We pray to Tim Curry for hits and catches.
That seems legit. Cranky, you could have shed tea. It's possible. I mean, I've been at all 6s and 7s this week, so I apologize. But that tea, if shared in the correct place, will come out next week. We won't waste it. If you shared it in a messenger chat or on Facebook somewhere, there's no way I'm going to catch that. It's just, I have a confession. Dion has a confession now. Is Dion
is it
who
now
has not watched
3
it?
players that were on our team that didn't have it?
Is it another one? It looks like Dion's about to confess.
Mm-mm.
Or maybe Dion's about to confess that he had seen it and he's a regular frequenter of the show, dressing up in proper style, which, would make me think of him much more highly. He's not going to elaborate on that now, as we've embarrassed him too much.
No.
Okay, so time for tea next time. Please send it in. We do love a bit of it. But we're going to get going onto court one. And we're not going to be glazing any donuts with premature reclamations here. Thank you very much, Turtle Duck. This is Invasion of the Dodgy Catchers up against Stramborka's Catchula. Two pretty strong teams, if I remember the draft there, Al. And as I go to the L chart to see how this began, it was a fairly even split on the race balls. Osmosis Brent, Sturrock, Lux, and VQ all taking their race balls with Acox, Wet Yeti, and Bork and Beans winning their race. Be interested to learn if Lux had actually checked into the chat by this stage, or if as the round begins, they remain silent. I did note though that Lux immediately threw after winning the race. I think it was the last race, but after they won the race, immediately threw straight away. So props for getting feisty. But it was in fact Bork and Beans who struck first. And I have to say, Al, props to Bork. I do love a bit of this. This is proper captain on captain action. Wins the race ball, immediately tries to take the head off the opposing captain, and does so in splendid style with a 49-0 hit, taking Sturrock's head clean off there. As Osmosis Brent dodges Acox's ball. So first blood to Stramborka's Catchula, which I'll get without stuttering eventually, I promise. VQ, though, gets right back in there with an eliminating ball against Yarboa, and Lux's fast ball does in fact catch Jace Ascended napping before Sturrock Zombie Ball takes out Acox with a 75-0 differential, but Lux strikes again, taking out Darth Binks. Not to be outdone, he goes 80-0, and Wet Yeti takes out Osmosis Brent 73-0. This is coming thick and fast. Literally every ball is a kill, because as we move on, Binkley Zombie Ball takes out Dakaran, Osmosis takes out Seabus Ripper, and I think if I remember rightly in my notes, it actually, this was like so this was the 19th action of the game, Al. It felt a lot longer than that in the chat, and it felt like Seabus Ripper was coming in with the first thirst trap of the season, as he was trying to, engage some dodgy catchers in a throw at him. Osmosis Brent took the bait, but actually then took his head off. So it didn't kind of work out for Seabus. Lux dodging the zombie ball from Seabus. However, Wet Yeti catches Yarbs. Catches VQ, reviving Yarbs. Wheels takes out Wet Yeti. Lux catches and eliminates Yarboa before there's a string of dodges, and VQ and Bork and Wheels all dodge, and VQ misses Bork and Beans again. So there's this quiet lull in proceedings. And Invasion at this point are ahead, should be feeling pretty good about themselves, and then Bork starts throwing. Bork eliminates VQ, he dodges VQ's zombie ball, he takes out Sarah T, Wheels dodges the first Bork but can't avoid the second, and it's a nice bow with a neat wrap up on that victory for Stramborka's Catchula. In 35 actions, a pretty quick round there. I think when Bork gets on one, quite a force to be reckoned with. And also, that was the other thing. Another Bork thing I did like to see, Al. He came in hard and fast with a thematic throw, throwing VBAT. Apparently, looking at the text, maybe one of many thematic catchula themed throws he's got going on this season. So I'll be definitely tuning in to see what else he's got up his sleeve. But in the end, a pretty brutal game.
Yeah.
So, in terms of player of that, the MVP, Al, do we have a? Is it?
I'm pretty sure you know who the MVP is.
Yeah, I mean,
it is Bork.
It is Bork, yeah.
I mean, we'll just go over the stats here real quick.
Yeah.
In case anybody has any doubts, he went.
He won his race.
Well, he won his race. 62% win percentage. Got 4 hits and a catch. That's 5 sort of elimination plays right there.
Yeah.
That is more than I think the rest of his team combined.
Leading from the front, absolutely. Yep. But
no disrespect to the other team, because Lux also had a real cherry of a game.
Yes, I mean, he did.
If it had gone the other way, we would easily be talking about Lux. I mean, Lux had an 88% win percentage. He had 2 hits and a catch. Also, also won his race. He was just missing those 2 extra hits
and
that
being
Bork
on
had
the not winning side.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think if it's one of those where if Bork has a bad game early on, maybe dodgy catchers take that game, because the momentum was definitely with them. It took 4 eliminations, I think, from Bork at the end to kind of swing that back round. So I think it kind of came like a velociraptor out the side view and just took their heads clean off. But good game, blazing way to start round 1. So congrats to Stram Borker's Catchler and Bork and Beans himself. Well played. And we'll move to court 2, which is the Blobberduke versus the Catch Assist. Now, I wrote a lot of notes for this one. I think the first thing I remember seeing was so many comments from Patriarch really hamming up the theme of The Exorcist. Like, he was bringing out, it almost felt like it was a TV preacher, like he was bringing out his rosaries, he was casting out demons, like it was good stuff. But this was also a notable game for a whole bunch of other reasons. I mean, this was the game, Al. I think this is why we're doing this catch-up show a little bit late. Because this game, not through the fault of any one individual, like, holding anything up, it was just a brutal game. Like, it was really grueling. But it started with Imam being the only ball winner on her team, as everybody but Morfadar on the catch assist wins. Sorry, on the Blobberduke wins a race ball. Imam being the only member of a team to win anything remoting a race. Although I did note, and I thought this might be a mistake, but as I look at the spreadsheet, I see that maybe it's not. October apparently won their race by, I think it's the most suggestive scoreline we've ever had in Dodgeball, Alan, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but 420 to minus 69.
That is what we call an angry panda stat line, because those are his 2 favorite numbers.
420 minus 69, so a 489 differential. Absolutely nailing Ninja Nin to the table there. Although Patriarch did start off a little bit sassy, suggesting that he'd ordered his team to watch the paint dry while he waited for the throws from the opposition. And then, to add insult to injury, we're going to see him catch a ball really fast after someone throws it at his face. But, in fact, that was immediately. Kincaid, seeing the sass, threw a ball trying to kill Patriarch. Patriarch just plucked it out the air and told Kincaid to take a seat. You're not needed anymore, thanks and goodbye. Roland Parr dodges Cranky Day, and then October, clearly dissatisfied with Imam being the only catcher of the ball, takes her head off as well. Meanwhile, Imam, with her ball, can't find Morfada on Facebook, can't tag him, which is ironic because she couldn't find him with her ball either, and Morfada catches her to get revenge and then revives Kincaid. In between those two, we've then got a whole bunch of misses. We've got Patriarch dodging Tyraziel, Ninja dodging Morfada, Drew the Rat dodging Penguin Army, before Mkolo eliminates Jonna Ann. And also, Mkolo's name has reminded me that one Carlos wins the Sandra Torres Award of Season 10 for being the first Dodgeball player to successfully name and tag Sandra Torres. Well done, Juan. We were waiting for it and you delivered. Excellent.
Yeah.
So did you, Al, see any, I didn't see any news headlines from M in that thread.
There were some.
There were some?
Because this match started to run a little long, it gave Emily some time, and she did post a few news headlines when there was a lull. So later, when we get there, when a team only has one player left, and you think it's almost over, and then action ground to a halt, that's when there were some. Let me see if I can find them. Keep going with the recap. I'm going to look for the news things.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for the correction, Thestral. Morfada, they, them, perfect. Echo, I will try and sort that out for Al. I'm not terribly certain how I can do that, but we'll see. So yeah, we've got all the misses. Penguin Army dodging Drew. October missing Rolling Paw. Patriarch striking again to take Tyraziel out. I think I can't remember if he drowned Tyraziel or cast him into hell. It was something equally disturbing. He was definitely on fire on this one. Roland Parr dodging October before Drew the Rat catches Cranky, reviving Imam 69. Now, this game had an awful lot of catches, Al. An awful lot of catches. And this was...
I want to say there were like 14 of them.
Something very, very silly indeed. So Drew's catch of Cranky kind of began the slew because Patriarch then eliminated News Queen herself, Mkolo. Drew missed Cranky with a return ball. Penguin, or Pingu as I think his team Loveland would call him, missed Patriarch. Morfadar catching and eliminating Rolling Paw is another one. October dodging Ninja before Imam catches Mkolo, reviving Jonna Ann. Drew the Rat dodging Penguin. Cranky gets catch desserts on Drew, reviving Tyraziel. Then eliminates Ninja Nin before catching Drew the Rat again, reviving Mkolo. Super demoralizing, Al, when you've had someone eliminated on the opposing team and they're just straight back up and so Cranky delivering all sorts of morale blows there to the opposition. We've got Mkolo getting back in the game with her ball, missing Drew the Rat. October missing Jonna Ann. Jonna dodging October. Mkolo missing Drew. Mkolo catching Jonna Ann and eliminating her. Patriarch dodging Morfada's ball before eliminating October, I think with the same ball maybe. Mkolo eliminating Drew the Rat. Morfada missing one Carlos. And Penguin then takes out Patriarch. I think that was quite an important morale hit there because Patriarch had been doing all sorts of emotional damage in the thread. And that kind of set him on his heels a little bit. Imam missed Tyraziel and Cranky, and then Cranky caught and eliminated Imam. And I think at this point, it's just Juan on his own.
Yes. So this is when Emily kicks in and did 2 headline news stories, one for Imam and one for 9 Inch Ninja, both of which, if you get the chance, go to the thread and look for them. They are, as always, excellent.
Fantastic. The commissioner has just corrected us that it was only 13 catches.
Only 13.
Only 13. So just to clarify, Juan is on his own against the entirety of the Blobadook, pretty much. 1 against 6.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what happens. First, he takes out Cranky Day. Then he catches Penguin Army, reviving Rollin Paw, and catches and eliminates Kincaid. Just, no big deal.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Penguin dodges Rollin Paw. Mkolo, the now alive Mkolo, dodges the throw from Juan Carlos before Juan Carlos cruelly eliminates Morfada, making them sit down and take no further part in the game. And he's not done there, because while Penguin's busy dodging the ball, Juan Carlos is busy eliminating Mkolo yet again, and then catching Penguin to eliminate Penguin. And all of a sudden it's down to 1 versus 3. Juan Carlos eliminates Tyraziel, whilst Mkolo eliminates Rollin Paw with her zombie ball. Penguin then takes out Juan Carlos, who's got balls in the air, but there's also a ball against him.
Yeah.
And he catches Tyraziel's zombie ball, reviving Ninja Nin. And everybody apart from Ninja is on the bench. And so that final catch is the one that seals the deal.
Yeah.
And Ninja, having been first out, is having the last laugh. And that game, Al, was stupendous. There was like 205 comments, I think, on the thread, and most of those were actual game results. Like 66 game actions or something like that. Just utterly bonkers.
I was watching it unfold, and I was so sure it was going to end in a race off. I felt like that was the only sort of logical step. The catch pull it out at the end was very exciting.
Yeah, 1 versus 6. Like, there's not a lot of players that turn that around. And fair play. I don't think I need to guess the player of the match, Al. I think I know it, but why don't you tell us who the MVP is anyway?
It is the one and only Juan Carlos. I mean, he had 4 hits and he had 4 catches. I mean, that's
a whole team
that's
plus
ridiculous.
1. It's a whole team and the reserve on his own.
Yeah, whole teams don't do that combined, and he did it himself.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. So if you're ever worrying about Juan Carlos's value as a first round pick, well, there you go. Round 1. How'd you like those numbers?
Boom.
Have some of that. So the catch assist victory over the Blobadook, who thought they had in the bag and just so very wrong. Now, what else have I got? I'm sure I've got a couple more. Oh, and you can tell it was Morfada's rookie move that activated Juan Carlos. So possibly unfair to pin it on them, but you do see a couple players being kind of left out until later, and that's one of the reasons why you do, because once activated, he just went absolutely Super Saiyan. But we're going to go to Court 3. We've got the aforementioned Midthromer, and we're against Hannibals here. In Court 3, a fairly even split on the races, Al. BPB, Guianos, CJK Flyer, and JP Runs Funny taking balls for their side, whilst Vorazori, Zwivix, and Simply Steph take balls on their side. But it's Vorazori, very bold move here, just takes aim at Jael, showing no mercy, and absolutely smashes him for first blood. Really clean hit. And then he dodges BPB's throw, jinx to the side, while Lex Neville tries to open his account against Zwivix and fails twice. Risker, though, catches CJK Flyer, RX teammate, a 50-0 perfect catch and makes them sit down. Lex Neville, though, getting, not shy to throw a ball and not shy to play those games. Dodges Zwivik as they have a back and forth, but then in the return throw, invites Zwivik to the bench, making sure that he's not going to be around. CJK, zombie catch. He catches Simply Steph and revives Jar L. So the Dino Queen not getting off to a wonderful start here, Al. Wonder if she's a bit rusty. We'll see. Jar L, though, leaps into action, misses Simply Steph, eliminates Simply Steph, and then, and I loved this, I absolutely loved this, Al. It seems that Jar L has been nursing a grudge from maybe last season. And
What?
I know, right? Seems almost churlish. But as soon as he's back in the game, he declares that he's throwing at Serafina as he felt cheated that she had robbed him of the most valued rookie last season. And so it's a huge grudge match, huge chip on his shoulder, and he does in fact hit Serafina to the bench, possibly feeling no better than he did before, but, making Serafina feel worse about things. So ungentlemanly, but I did love it. Oh yes, Simply Steph, I've got a note here. Starts well throwing her potty mouth around, but forgetting to correctly number her balls. And it was a stream of consciousness as she was writing the post out. She was like, I'm going to throw this ball and I've forgotten what ball I've got. Someone else can do it. It was great. But back to the action. Giles just taken out Serafina. Lex Neville dodges Vorazori, misses Risker before Siska Alvarez catches and eliminates Risker. Guianos trying to take Bahamut out but can't. But Bahamut catches Lex Neville to revive Zwivix. A little bit of poetic justice there, maybe. Lex Neville throwing the catch that gets Zwivix back in the game, who he eliminated in the first place. But Giles, Zwivix, and Lex Neville all dodge balls from Bahamut, Lex Neville, and Zwivix again, before BPB catches and eliminates Vorazori, really gunning to get their man there. Lex misses Zwivix, Bahamut dodges Cisco, Guianos dodges Zwivix, Cisco dodges Bahamut, kind of a throw triangle going on there. We've got BPB missing Bahamut before Tatiana is activated by Jar L. And this was another one of those, Jael clearly feeling bold enough. They'd sidelined Tats up until this point. No one had thrown at her. Very obviously avoiding Tats after she lost her race. Jar L boldly brings her into the game, throws a catch, finds himself on the bench. So don't underestimate Tatiana. She's dangerous as they come. Zwiv, though, dodging Lex. Zwiv, Lex, BPB, they're just playing catchy amongst themselves. BPB misses with Zwivix again. Zwivix gets his revenge on Lex Neville, bouncing the ball off his head and taking it back. Vorazori, though, catches and eliminates JP. Jar Zombie misses Tats. Bahamut eliminates BPB. Cisco eliminates Bahamut. Tats catches BPB, reviving Simply Steph, who again comes back with the smack straight off the bench. And it's one of those, Al, you love to see it. Talks mad crap coming off the bench, balls straight between the eyes, and sits back down. As Cisco eliminates Simply Steph seconds after she gets back up. And then, to add salt to the wound, eliminates Tatiana straight afterwards. Zwivix catches Guianos and eliminates him. Guianos, in response, catches Zwivix, reviving reviving CJK. Cisco catches Tats, reviving Jar L. Lots of catches in this spate of the game. Guianos Zombie misses Zwivix. Cisco misses Zwivix. Zwivix misses CJK. Before Jar L eliminates Zwivix to put a cap in the match. And the zombie balls from Zwivix, who fires off 3. And was there a 4th? I think. I could be wrong. I thought I saw a mention of a 4th ball that didn't get thrown. That might not have been this game. But anyway, none of them find their target. And congratulations to It's Midthroma, who win that game with 3 sore bottoms to 7. And that was an interesting one though, Al. That was quite back and forth. Yeah. Again, quite a lot of catches, fairly brutal.
I was going to say, this one I think reached 11 catches, which not as many as the previous match, but any other week that would have seemed crazy to me. Yeah,
like a crazy number of catches.
So,
how did your analysis of this one line up though, Al?
I mean, this one, it's, as far as MVP, it's got to be Cisco Alvarez.
Yeah, he did work.
He had an 80% win percentage, which is crazy to begin with. But then 3 hits and 2 catches. In fact, he was, I think, perfect on defense, getting 2 dodges and 2 catches. So I think the only place he didn't fill the stat line was in the races.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. That was the only kind of blot on his copybook, as it were. But I mean, that's small dice when you're considering the work he put in that game. It was absolutely crazy. So congrats Midthroma, congrats Cisco, strong performance, and Lex Neville maybe showing a bit of rookie spunk there. Seemed to be keen on the throws, capable of the hits. Looked like a good showing. And nice to see Steph back at it as well. On to court.
Always good to see that.
Always good to see Steph. So now we've got the Bulls Have Eyes versus A Nightmare on Realm Street. This was another one of those fairly balanced races, Al. Corey Best, Slavic, and Star Mark getting their names on the balls. Dusto, DG3, Alderan, and Darklighter doing the same. Starts pretty kind of cautious. There's a couple of dodges. Zim, Star Mark, Polites, DG3, Corey are all involved. No one being able to land anything. Before Slavic takes the early bath for Sabella, forcing her to take a pew. Alderan takes out Thestral, taking an early captain's bath there before Slavic misses DG3. PC Load Letter avoids Dusto's attentions before Darklighter takes out the King of Baseballs, Sato, and Slavic eliminates DG3 before catching Zim and eliminating him. So making a real case for his side there. Alderan, though, having absolutely none of that, immediately benches Slavic and to make sure that threat's taken out. And I'd like to say nice things about Alderan at this stage, but I'm still low-key mad at him from our endurance game where he knocked me for a cool 199. So I'm not. Moving on. Dusto dodges Slavic Zombie Ball before a Slavic Zombie Ball takes out Aldurin. Hooray! A blow for the good guys. Aldurin Zombie Ball eliminates PC Loadletter. Darklighter misses Tuna. Polites takes out Starmark. Darklighter dodges Starmark's ball before eliminating Tuna Slap. Dusto misses Corey. Polites catches PC Load, reviving Sabella. I think that might be a self-interest there if it wasn't for the fact that it's automated. Corey Bear misses and then eliminates Dusto. Darklighter misses Corey Bear. Corey Bear catches Dusto, reviving Cethestral. Darklighter catches Corey Bear, killing him. And then Polites catches Cethestral and eliminates him for the win. And yet again, Al, a lot of catches there. This probably had like half the kind of interactions of Cork 2. I don't know if you count how many catches there were, but there were a lot.
There were, let's see. With this one, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 catches.
Yeah, I mean, that's
so
the number of throws there was still a lot.
For a regular round, that would be a lot. But the fact that we had 2 other courts that made it into double digits, it just doesn't seem like that many anymore.
I think my notes for Court 4 were just filled with murder. Like, it was just...
Yeah.
It was a proper horror show. Like, everybody was dying left, right, and centre. Who was your MVP there,
Alan? There were a lot of really, really good performances. But I have to go with Darklighter. Just on efficiency alone, he won all of his games. He was 7 for 7. He got 2 hits and he got a catch, and I mean that's crazy. And the fact that he just won every game, that's that was it.
Absolutely great performance. Well played, Darklighter. So much blood, right? I know. 5 catches, rookie numbers. As we move to Court 5, then we come across. Al, you're in this match, aren't you? Look at that.
Yeah. I think you were in this match too for a while.
For a while, yeah, for a little while. I would like to say we saved the best till last, but I think we blew that on Court 2. So I was kind of distracted. I was quite busy at the start of the match, and I came back to find that I was the only one holding a ball. Only Jen, Clever Missy, was the only player on your side to not take the race ball. And as I look at this, it's definitely a story here. So Al, talk me through the deglazing of Chasmo, because that's the very first thing that happened this game.
that was that was a really interesting game because I had to delay the hit and then get him perfectly. Honestly, I had to do the math like 3 times to figure it out, and I kind of felt bad. We were playing nearly real time, and I kind of had to like hold it up and do the math a couple times, and then also pray that there was some whiffing going on. It was, and I felt real bad hitting him first because I was like, oh man, the first catch, he's coming right back in. But then there wasn't.
But ironically, in a round filled with catches, this was not one of those games.
No.
I will note, and Dion, I love you, man. Dion did open his account this season by posting his result as a reply to your tagging of everyone, if I remember rightly.
The nice thing is he's kept that up for second round too. Spoiler for next week.
Spoiler for next week. Dion goes to comments. I only mention it because he invited Visellas to sit down, and surprisingly for Visellas, got a very cordial response. So I can only imagine it was a thorough defrocking. But yeah, ball 2 of the match, Dion Lunsford eliminates Visellas. Before Poop Deck dodges Rip's throw. I think Poop Deck and Rip play a lot of kind of practice games against each other throughout the year, just in general. I think Rip trying to take away his protege's powers. Not to be, though, poop deck dodges. Markbot, though, strikes and eliminates the dangerous German fire driller before Dion catches and eliminates poop deck. And Baggio misses Flydar, Super Grandma dodging Darth Kronos, and then I finally get involved and take out Markbot. I will confess to something on air here. I had considered throwing against SilentAl first. However, my pride couldn't handle the smack if I lost. Again. So I threw at Markbot, who's always a good sport, and we had a good game. It was very nonsensical, as many of my games are. I'm not going to reveal my format, because that would allow either Super Grandma or Poop Deck to lord it over. Everyone's saying I followed their orders, and I did in fact not follow anyone's. So, I take out Markbot, Baggio dodges Super Grandma, you miss Flydar Al, but then Dion Lunsford misses me. I take out Clever Missy with another trip to Club Hot Tub. Super Grandma dodges Markbot Zombie Ball. Dion Lunsford takes out Flydar. Darth Kronos dodges my ball. You eliminate Super Grandma, you monster. You eliminate Known Liar Super Grandma. There we go. That's the correct title, I believe.
That sounds right.
That sounds right, yeah. Darth Kronos dodges the throw from Super Grandma, and then Baggio sticks it right up me as he hits me in absolutely merciless fashion, taking out his old teammate with aplomb. And Al, we're like 27 actions in, the game's over. We are so dead.
Honestly, waiting for the other teams to finish and for like the second round to start was so rough on our team. Like, at one point, I think like the chat just sort of like, you know, when you click on Facebook and it shows like your top 5 chats, the latest thing. Like, I think it dropped out for a while.
Oh, it wasn't even on the first page.
Yeah.
Yeah, this game was over quickly. I think we felt a bit shaken like a baby, if I'm being honest. It was only 11 days. This game was probably only about 3, I think.
Yeah.
If that.
It was
over super fast. But it's hard to argue with gold bipanted dodgeballers. So, Al, who on your team is wearing they gold pants for MVP?
Oh, the MVP pants.
Yeah.
Did I say pants? Anyway,
I think you did.
The MVP pants are going to be worn this week by Dion Lunsford.
Yeah.
Also had an extremely efficient stat line. He was 5 for 5. He won all of his games. He got 2 hits. He got the only catch of the match. He won his race. It was a great effort.
Hard to argue with those numbers. So congrats, Dion. And congrats to Rocky Horror Picture Throw, and indeed all the teams who won this week. So before we get to the player of the round and the money ball, let's just look at these standings. We've got Rocky Horror Picture Throw at the top, largely to the absolutely demolishment they made of us. Like, they only lost, was it 1 player, I think, maybe?
I think we lost 2.
Oh, you lost a couple, but anyway, butchered us.
I was going to say, you hit 2 people.
Yeah, fair enough. I forgot about that. But then we've got a Nightmare on Realm Street coming in second, with Midthroma coming in third. I mean, this is all goal difference at the moment. It's largely academic. Catch Assist next in the winners, and then finally Stramborkus Catchula. And just because of how close those 2 games were, those breakers come in. So do you want to remind people how the breakers work, Al? Or I can?
You can.
I can. Yep, no problem. So, if you are the losing team, it's how many players you eliminated. So, if you eliminated 6 players and they only had 1 left standing, like, you get 6 breaker points and the loss. If you're the winning team, it's how many players you have left. So the way the commissioners kind of structured this, it's designed to reward close matches with high breaker points for the losing side and low breaker points for the winning side. Whereas if you absolutely demolish your opponent 7-0, you're going to get 7 breaker points for winning and your opponent's going to get none. And so that then, it shows the strength of the victory, as it were. And I think we've kind of gone around this a few seasons, because it can come into play at the end if there's 3 teams all locked up on the same points, right, Al?
Right.
It's about the fairest way it could possibly work. So yeah, fight for every ball. Make sure everyone's as much of a hit as you can make it. That will help your breakers. Think about reviving teammates. All those things come into play. When we go to the sad end of the table, though, Al, we've got Blobbadook, we've got Invasion of the Dodgy Catchers, we've got Hannibals, the Balls Have Eyes, and then, predictably, at the bottom, we have Eggdam. Wah, wah. A girl dodgeballs alone at night at the bottom. But I can say our chat is lit. And I hope everyone's having a good time in the chat as well. So Al, before we leave these good people of the dodgeball world, we've got a player of the round and a money ball to award. Now, just a reminder for people, the money ball is the player who's provided the most value compared to their draft position. So, someone can have what you might consider to be a good game, but if they're first pick, that might not be as strong as someone who's picked 6th and actually had a pretty good game, but didn't get as many hits as someone else. But maybe being 6th pick, you wouldn't expect them to.
Chances are money ball is not coming from the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, it's very... Has it ever? I might have come from round 3 once.
I don't think so.
But if it did, it was like a ridiculous performance.
Right.
Anyway.
So speaking of ridiculous performances, the MVP of the round, to absolutely no one's surprise, is Juan Carlos.
Yeah, I mean, just a bananas performance.
Like I said, his stat sheet looked like an entire team stat sheet.
Yeah.
So yeah. He definitely wins MVP of the round this round. Will it carry over for the rest of the season? Let's hope not, because the rest of us would like to win a game also.
It's true. Yeah. But the money ball, Al, always a very...
The money ball.
Yeah.
This one is going to, I believe they were a last round pick. It is going to Baggio 10, who was picked in the last round.
Yeah.
But he also won all of his games. He was 4 for 4.
He was.
He also got that winning hit that ended the game on you.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
well, congrats, Baggio. Congrats,
good job, Bags, man.
Carlos. Yep. And no bias there, of course, Al. That he was a member of the team. Nothing kind of favoritism there at all. So yeah, no. 8 opposing players less. Yes, that is correct. Any highlights from the first round for you, Al? I got a couple, but
I mean the obviously the Juan Carlos game was ridiculous to watch. And I mean the amount of catches we've had already this season is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
As far as other highlights,
I mean, there were definitely some close games, which is always really, really nice to see. I saw lots of really good banter between teams. I was loving Patriarch's kind of thematic smack talk. That was a definite highlight. I did see one thing, and it was, you know how sometimes we get a bit preachy about people like racing to the thread.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the opposite this time, where like clearly a couple players had a chat behind the kind of scenes and been like, well, have you got a ball? Like, I'm about to hit you, get it out. And that was really, really nice to see as well. Because ultimately, yes, competitive, but it's all about having fun, playing with friends, and I love to see that happen. So that was really, really
nice. There was a lot of good sportsmanship. Also, we've seen, at least I've seen in the captain's chat, a lot of good communication, trying to figure out timing and get people matched up for,
we'll have busy lives.
There, right, exactly, and being understanding of that too. I know in previous seasons sometimes there was some frustrations on people couldn't play fast enough or things like that. This one, we've gotten off to a really good start as far as sportsmanship goes. So hopefully that'll carry on the rest of the season.
But yeah, Patriarch and I think Patriarch and Bork get my thematic captain's award for this round. I'm loving seeing thematic formats, loving seeing the thematic smack. Keep all that up. Absolutely. It really, especially when I'm reading through the threads, it really adds to the game. Like, it's nice when it's a close game and it's good fights and stuff, but when it's that little bit of slice of banter and it's on theme, oh, I love that. Absolutely love it. Just adds so much to the reading. So thank you for that, you two, especially, and everyone who does that. It's great. I think we're probably done for round one, maybe.
I think so.
And if another thing I forgot is Osmosis Brent is at his song games again. So when you come up against Brent, he's going to write you a song, and definitely the race and the match and maybe some of the throws. I can't remember, but it's worth going in because he kind of, like a sommelier, he pairs it with some heavy metal and then brings it to you on a plate. So Emily's news stories, Brent's songs. Also tell us if there's anything that you really like seeing. So unboxing time. Oh, if only. I think I've got to let Al get to bed though. But maybe one day we'll get through a whole game.
Maybe I'll just pick a smaller game next time that I can just unbox really quick.
And I can't possibly stop you from I can't interrupt you fast enough.
There you go.
Well, I mean, it could be hours and I still wouldn't be off mute, so that works. So thanks everyone.
But I'll be echoing the whole time anyway. People won't be able to understand me.
It's terrible. I will eventually, but if it's not filled with technical issues, what is it really?
Why would anybody even show up then?
Why would everyone even bother? Have a great round 2. I know races are underway and or finished, depending on which court you're on. Good luck. Have great matches. Have a good week, and we'll see you here next time. It's good night from me, and it's good night from him.
Good night.